Hey, what's up guys? Shamrock here with another boss guide for you. This is Umbrelskul on a 23 Tyrannical, which is the last boss in Azure Vaults. I'm loosely calling this a guide. It's more of a POV so you can see how I did it. And the reason I say that is because there's actually really not a lot going on for this boss fight. If I had two main tips, I guess. First would be make sure you have the Spirit Wolf talent, which is the one that increases your speed in Ghost Wolf by 5% every 1 second for 4 seconds, up to a maximum of 20%. And second tip would be make sure that you are sticking close to the tank so that you can dispel them whenever they get the Dragon Strike on them. Alright, so first half of this fight, pretty simple. Just make sure you're dispelling the tank immediately as soon as they get that Dragon Strike. And honestly, that's pretty much it, because there's not really enough orbs until you get to around 50% for it to be a bit of a problem. And then make sure you're just watching out for that breath, because it can kind of sneak up on you. If you have bigwigs or DPM or something that's like shows you the timer for the Dragon Strikes, that will definitely be really helpful, as well as for the roar, so it doesn't sneak up on you. But if you don't, like myself, you can just target the boss and you can see when they're casting it. Also, because this is the last boss in the dungeon, if you've made it this far and you're close to timing the key, you should have a fairly competent tank, just because the nature of this dungeon requires a tank that's pretty good. But also, you're going to have experience with that tank if you've run the whole dungeon with them, so you should know how much babysitting they're probably going to need during this fight. If they've been squishy the whole dungeon, then they're going to be squishy here. It's not going to change. And if they have been like pretty independent the whole dungeon, it's the same thing here. You just need to make sure that you're there to dispel them when you can. Otherwise, for the orbs, some tips I have about the orbs and running away from them. Don't just run in random directions. Don't like run across the room or run away. Like really all you want to do is kind of circle them. Every so often they do stop and chill out, which gives you a good chance to heal and recuperate and do whatever you need to do. But otherwise just, run in a general circle and try to stay away from your DPS so that you don't run the orbs into them. Until you get up to like a 25, you can actually take it like one tick from the orb. It's not going to kill you. So don't worry about that either. And if that does happen, don't panic. Just make sure you're getting away as soon as possible. Other than that, there are a couple of times throughout the fight where he does some AoE damage on everybody and he knocks you back. Most important thing here is to make sure that you don't get knocked back into orbs, so just make sure you're pre-positioning for that. And the second is, like, if you have cooldowns, I would say either use Healing Tide or Ascendance for that AoE damage. Try to save AG and Slink for if the tank gets into a little bit of trouble and you need to help them. You'll see in this fight I actually don't use Slink or AG, or Ascendance even. I think I just use Healing Tide towards the end of the second AoE damage that he does. Other than that, if you have a tank who's somewhat independent, it gives you time to DPS, so make sure you're running around and chain lightning some of the crystals and getting some DPS on the boss as well, just because this timer is so tight. And for the crystals, if any of them happen to explode, it's pretty much a guaranteed wipe, so any little thing that you can do to help out with those will be, I would recommend doing that. But yeah, see, as you can see, I basically have a little range of movement that I'm just running around in circles. And when the orbs start to get close to me, I just circle them out. I even go in between them sometimes, because with your Ghost Wolf and Spirit Wolf talent, you're like way faster than them. They're never going to catch you as long as you have a good plan of movement. Right, as you can see, find your openings, go through, deke them out. Just do what you got to do to not get hit, but also stay close to your tank so that you can dispel them when needed. There you go, second AoE. I pop Healing Tide, and that's it. If you have a group where DPS are like getting hit by the orbs or running into them, unfortunately that does make things a little bit harder, but realistically they shouldn't. The orbs will most likely be following you the whole time. I've heard conflicting reports on why the orbs target who they target, but in my experience, it's going to be you 90% of the time. So just make sure you're ready for that. But honestly, it's perfect. We are literally the perfect class for this boss to get targeted by the orbs, because we can run them away from the DPS and we'll always be faster than them. The only real trouble that you would have with this fight is if your tank needs a lot of babysitting, because then it may be a little bit harder to dodge while constantly trying to keep an eye on the tank. That being said, it is possible. Like I said, find an area of movement that is somewhat close to the tank, run circles around the orb, and when you need to, you can use Spirit Walker's Grace in an emergency when you need to heal while you're moving, because that will also give you a speed boost if you have the correct talent for it. But yeah, really, it's not bad. This whole fight is about not losing focus. Make sure that you are prepared to go into Ghost Wolf at any time. You do not want to get more than one tick of these orbs because you will die. And make sure that your tank is good with that debuff. You just need to dispel it right away. Most tanks, like I said, if they've gotten you to this point on a higher key, they are decent enough to handle that kind of damage. If you're running this maybe on a lower key or you've been carrying the group, then like I said, that will definitely make things a little bit more complicated. But it's all about your movement pattern. You just need to find a way to deke out those orbs while staying close to the tank, which I know is a little bit easier said than done. But realistically, like I said, with the Spirit Wolf talent, you're going to be so much faster than those orbs. So and honestly, this is a good fight. Like if you need practice, go do this on a lower key, and like that maybe where like the tank doesn't need so much healing, and literally just practice running around from the orbs, and it'll be the exact same thing on a higher key, I guarantee you. Anyways, good luck. Once again, sorry this isn't more of a guide, it's more of a POV, but hopefully this helped you out, and I'll see you next time.